Jess. Welcome back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel. In this video, I'm recapping episode 15 of Real Housewives of Potomac. We're at that time of the season where I'm just ready for it to be over. I don't have a whole lot to say about this episode because I feel like it's just more of the same, but I'm committed. I'm consistent, which is why you should go ahead and hit the subscribe button while I have you here with me. Okay, great. So we're still at the Eastern Shore, and I can't tell. I know for me, time is just a social construct. It's just a loose way for us to structure our days at this point. But I don't remember pre-COVID. Do these vacations last this many episodes? Is this a COVID thing, or am I just like over it? Slide in the comments and let me know because I'm just kind of tired. So we're wrapping up the dinner from hell, at this restaurant, which now I'm kind of hungry now that I think about it. Anyway, as an aside, that's an aside. Robin and Giselle decide that they want to get a hotel. So they're kind of discussing that a little bit, while they're wrapping up dinner, and the one that has the best rating is a 30-minute drive because they just can't be without their own bathroom, and they feel like Wendy is a terrible host. Now, before I do my reviews, I try to talk a few things out, or my recaps rather. I try to talk a few things out with friends so that I make sure that I'm being fair. And one of my friends felt like, Wendy is not being a great host. And I think it's hard for me to give that any credence because I just feel like Robin and Giselle get whatever they deserve. And my friend also pointed out to me that it's not like Robin and Giselle just popped up in some way. Wendy was aware that they were coming, and she did make a good point that, okay, they didn't really have enough rooms anyway, or the accommodations weren't sufficient anyway, because even if Robin had brought one, they would have had to share a room with Giselle. And I was like, okay, I didn't consider that. I'll give you that. Maybe the accommodations weren't sufficient, and maybe I'm a poor, but I'm not that opposed to cleaning up after myself or sharing a bathroom. Maybe I just haven't had this top tier luxury experience, but just as a regular person in the world, even if you're on vacation, it's okay to pick up behind yourself. I'm one of those people who, if I stay in a hotel room, I still try to pick up my hotel room because I don't want housekeeping to think I'm a nasty bitch. But that's just me. Let me know if y'all do the same thing. I could be overthinking, but Robin's whole thing of she needs her own bathroom. Okay. I understand you're on your period. That is a very delicate time. I don't know your flow. I don't know your life. But again, if it's that deep, what's the PTO policy over at Bravo? And what's the difference between your attitude this trip and your attitude any other time, Robin? I can't tell, okay? So, those two get on my nerves. It is entirely possible that Wendy is a bad host, but because I think that Giselle and Robin aren't great, I kind of don't care. And that's just me being honest. This whole episode, Gordon made me very uncomfortable. Even rolling over from last episode, I don't want you to talk about anything relating to your, it's just not appropriate. I'm not okay with it. Now, what I did find really interesting and a little bit people in glass houses, Ashley, don't compare your husband to anybody's husband. And shouts out to production for flashing back to the many occasions where Michael has been inappropriate and weird and skeevy. And we also haven't, we've noticed Michael hasn't been around the rest of the cast. Michael is conveniently with the kids. Michael ain't really been outside like that with everybody else. And that's because Michael is a weirdo and he don't really know how to act around other people. And when I first started watching this show, I really tried to give Michael grace that maybe he's just a free spirit. No, Michael is kind of strange. And for Ashley to try to compare Mia's husband to hers, even though they're both older gentlemen, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Is Gordon inappropriate? Absolutely. does Gordon have those kinds of accusations out against him? I don't know. So again, shouts out to the producer shade for flashing back to remind you that your husband don't exactly know how to act around people he don't know like you think he does. Like, Ashley, please keep it cute. I also really hate how Mia just kind of sits there while he makes other people visibly uncomfortable. It really sometimes seems like she's one of those women who just is kind of in the audience of her life. Like, you don't want to step in and tell him to kind of chill out. I just don't want to hear if I'm sitting around my friends and their husbands and one of their husbands starts talking about his situation, I'm probably going to try to leave the room. I don't want to know your husband like that. I don't like Gordon is just, again, ruining older men for me. And maybe this is just a sign that, like, don't go that old. I don't know. So meanwhile, back at the ranch. So they get back to the house post the dinner from hell. Once again, exhausted ass Chris is trying to reason with Candace to explain to her the error in her ways. Candace is visibly drunk. And I keep trying to give a little bit of grace to the fact that they have been drinking quite a bit. And, you know, maybe that's the explanation for some of Candace's behavior. But we've seen Candace behave this way sober, so not so much. Again, I want Chris to go on vacation without Candace, without his kids. Just go lay down. Go lay down. Because your wife exhausts me, so I know she got to exhaust you. You go somewhere and you go lay down by yourself. You don't even have to do nothing. Now, that's who needs to be kind of waited on hand and foot. Chris was out here sweeping up lettuce. Chris was carrying bags for the sick and the shut-in. Chris has been out here trying to be a good man. And Candace is an exhausting toddler. Fed up. Me. I'm fed up. So Giselle and Robin decide to sneak out in the dead of night. And the other ladies are trying to make concessions for them of like, listen, y'all can have our room, da-da-da-da. I don't even like that. I don't like that people fall over themselves to accommodate Giselle and Robin, because Giselle and Robin would never do that for anyone. That's what I don't like. If they were just like regular, normal, pleasant people, I'd be like, yeah, you know, let's try to make them. No. They wouldn't do that for anybody ever. So that people are tripping up over themselves to try to accommodate them and their discomfort, it's just a hard no for me. No, thank you. The next morning, when everyone's having breakfast, Giselle uses those white women buzzwords of angry and aggressive in reference to Wendy. I don't like that. Now, I always say, I don't think that, I personally don't buy into the narrative of the angry Black woman, because to me, that's just a way to gaslight Black women into not being difficult, into not expressing our dissatisfaction or our, you know, feelings about things. Just, we're just supposed to be out here like playing it cool. And I don't understand why we get labeled as angry Black women when white women are out here flying off the handle all the time. White people are at an all-time high. You know what? I'm not going to say that. We can visibly see how off their rockers some white people are these days. But in general, they don't get labeled that way. But when a Black woman has a reasonable response to anything, you know, outside of just utter joy and servitude, we are angry, we are aggressive, we are violent, all of these things. I don't think that that's fair, because I shouldn't be denied the exploration of the full spectrum of emotion because I'm trying to fight a stereotype that shouldn't exist in the first place. But I'm still really not comfortable with Giselle using those buzzwords that white people tend to use against us. It's like, where is your self-awareness? And I don't see Wendy as angry or as aggressive. I don't even think that Wendy matches their energy. I think that Wendy just responds and doesn't just accept whatever Giselle and Robin do, and suddenly she's the bad guy. And I'm just not okay with that. You don't get to try to vilify me because I don't want to take your shit. I don't have to. I'm not your child. I'm not your husband. I'm not obligated to you in that way. So I don't have to just accept whatever you say and do to me. That's the problem that they have with Wendy, is that Wendy fights back. Not even fights. Wendy just responds, and they act like she responds in this like fantastically just angry and aggressive way. And it's like, no, she's just articulating her points. And you can't handle somebody actually getting with you eye to eye or even exceeding you when it comes to self-expression. And that's something that you need to figure out. Why are you incapable of standing your ground in the face of someone who can match and exceed actually your intellect or your perceived intellect? Wendy's not really doing anything to either of these women, and I'm really tired of them trying to make her out to be something that she isn't. I will admit that at the top of this season, Wendy came off as very insecure. Wendy came off as insincere and really just trying to like prove a point about, you know, being this new version of herself. And it was really off-putting. As the season has progressed, I think Wendy has calmed down a lot. I think that she's finding her footing. And these two women just seem to be deeply uncomfortable with not being able to say and do whatever they want to her. And good for Wendy for standing her ground. And then Giselle also, you know, was like, well, Wendy's not speaking to me. She's not engaging with me. I wouldn't either. Respect is something that I think in general, you should respect all people as human beings. I think that we should have like a base level of respect and kindness just for the fact that we're all humans and can all acknowledge that life is sometimes hard. But once a person shows you that they don't actually respect you, that it's not being reciprocated, I don't owe you shit. So you are a coworker at best, and that is all I'm going to give you. So anyway, so they go on the boat, and Robin is having a conversation with Ascala, and she's saying that she does not think that the insufficient accommodations were intentional on Wendy's part, but she does question the friendship she thought she had with Wendy from last year. Now, I just want to say that last year, Wendy came in really actually trying to pledge to the sorority that is Giselle and Robin. And now that Wendy isn't doing that, now suddenly she's the bad guy. So I just want to point that out. Y'all know I have my notes here to keep up with the mess. Mia does this messy ass shit again. Mia, I really had high hopes for you at the top of the season. I don't care for you a whole lot. Mia runs back after she overhears Ascala and Robin's conversation. Mia runs back and tells Wendy a shitty telephone version of what she overheard being said. And, you know, it's basically like, you know, I heard that you're not the same friend that you were last season, or however she bastardized those words. And once again, like, this is a conversation. I am just taking a page from Crystal Minkoff from Housewives of Beverly Hills. Y'all just don't like each other, and it's okay to not like each other. Move on. We don't need to have this conversation every single time we get together. It's fine. Everybody ain't meant to like each other. Move on. I'm tired. I'm tired of Wendy having to prove herself. I'm tired of Giselle and Robin trying to vilify her. I'm tired of Robin gaslighting Wendy of, oh, I just can't say anything to you without it being confrontational. Why don't you try not being an asshole? How about that? So Crystal and Mia finally talk things out. And I'm holding two things to be true at once in this moment, right? On the one hand, I think if Candace had just been vulnerable up front and said, I'm afraid that I'm not doing well enough with this project that's really important to me, so what you said really triggered me, this whole thing could have gone a lot better. But that requires a level of emotional maturity and responsibility and self-awareness that Candace didn't seem to come around to until they were on this boat. On the other hand, should people really need to reveal to you their trauma, their deep-seated trauma, in order for you to behave like a decent human being? I don't know. Like, did Mia really need to explain to you her mom's stint in prison and rehab and being a recovering drug addict for you to just not be an asshole? Like, as a 30-something-year-old woman, in general, you just shouldn't be going around saying yo mama anyway, because it's lame. Like, that is such a whack response. Like, what even is that, Candace? It's not, I mean, good for them that they made up, but okay, I guess. Again, I'm exhausted with this season. I'm ready for them to wrap it up. So on the way back, G is kind of teasing Ashley a little bit, and they kind of go back and forth. And again, I'm not comfortable with how Mia just sits there and says nothing while her husband makes other women uncomfortable. I don't like that because it just speaks to larger issues from my perspective. G gives me like the energy of like the uncle that you kind of like avoid at the cookout because he played too much. And everybody's always not in the mood. You know, Ashley's taking a nap in the corner, so G, you know, feels like it's okay to, you know, make fun of her. And she's like, look, I don't feel like playing. I just want to lay down, you know, like, leave me be. And he's still going in on her, and it's not going in on her. I mean, it's just annoying. So I think two things are true at the same time. Once again, I think Ashley is being a bit sensitive, but I also think that G is being annoying and inappropriate. And I'm really over him, and I'm over the fact that Mia does not reel him in at any point. Like, that's not a couple that I would want to be around, like, ever. Like, your husband is out here wilding out, saying and doing whatever, and you just sit there and smile and laugh at it like it's not a thing. Like, even if it doesn't bother you personally, have some consideration for the way he's making your friends feel. Just a thought. So that's all I have on this episode. Not a whole lot, more of the same. Kind of over it, ready for it to be over. Wrap it on up. Let me know what you guys thought. This episode, it's not that it was bad, it's just I'm kind of over it. And I don't want to say that it fell flat, but maybe it did. I don't know. Let me know what you guys thought. Slide in the comments. Be sure to like and share and subscribe. Become a patron. Send me a little coin, you know, every month so that I can continue to bring you free content. And I will see you guys soon. Bye.